Well, folks, good afternoon to you from Long Island, New York. Gene Panasanka here with the latest episode of Straight and Unfiltered. I'm getting incredible feedback from our audience, appreciating, sending me the emails and appreciation of great quality guests we bring to this channel. From attorneys to CPAs, different lines of advisors to the businesses, business owners, corporate executives, the people who share the pearls of wisdom as far as the expertise of many years or decades in multiple industries. So we're fortunate today to have a great guest, Mr. Charles Reed, who is a CPA, a U.S. Tax Court Practitioner, a member of the Internal Revenue Service Advisory Council, and the founder of a great company, GetPayrol. His companies have provided multiple services in a line of payroll tax services, and other payroll-related services since 1991. Charles is an accomplished senior executive and entrepreneur with more than 50, that's 50. He got in the business probably at the age of 7, all right, of 50 years of financial leadership experience in multiple industries. Charles is also an author of 4 published books. I had enjoyed some of his books. I'm eagerly awaiting for the latest copy to get hold of. And with that, Charles Reed, welcome to the channel.
Gene, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Charles. We've been trying to connect, and I have to say kudos to Luc Jean-Louis, who is my fellow podcaster, and you were a guest on his podcast, and I got jealous, and I said, hey, I really need to get that gentleman on my channel. Really pleasure having you here, Charles. Before I begin, I've been fortunate to have some guests who were combat veterans of multiple services, serving in U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. I want to salute you, sir, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service in the Marine Corps. Again, it is because of the people like yourself that this country has been able to stay strong and safe and sound. You kept us alive. So again, thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. So let's take our audience back, Charles, into your earlier years before you became a successful business owner, entrepreneur, advisor, founder of GetPayrol. How did you get involved in the industry?
Well, I'm a Midwestern boy. I grew up in Iowa.
Great state.
Yep, it's a great place to be from. It's a great place to raise kids. And so after high school, I joined the United States Marine Corps, spent 4 years, 2 years overseas, a combat tour in Vietnam.
God bless you.
Came back, was stationed in Kansas City, met my wife, married her. She was 10 years older than I was and had 5 children when I married her. I claim insanity, but
that I would say love and commitment and courage.
And
nothing else can be expected from a veteran Marine Corps.
And we were married for 45 years before she passed. So
sorry to hear that.
A lot of people were aghast at it, but it worked for us. Okay. And I learned never to gainsay anybody's marriage. If it works for you, great.
Sure.
So I found after I got out of service that business did not value, much as today, my military experience. So I went to school. I went to University of North Texas. We'd moved down here to Texas.
What a great state to be in.
It is. I wasn't
It's always been
here.
a great state, but I will tell you, Charles, in the last couple months, when half the country is still in a lockdown, you are fully reopened for business. You can enjoy lives like free Americans are supposed to be, which is what's guaranteed by the American Constitution. God bless you. Yeah, it's remarkable.
Absolutely. I tell people I wasn't born a Texan, but I got here as soon as I could. So I've been here for, almost 50 years now.
Wow.
Went to college, got my BBA, my MBA, sat for and passed my CPA exam while I was still in graduate school. Got out, went to work for Texas Instruments, and for the next 15 years worked for various businesses, large and small. I realized about the time I turned 40, I was never going to run a major American corporation. I didn't have the political skills. I was unwilling to stab people in the back and toss them off the ladder. So I figured if I was going to run a business like my father, I'd have to start my own, like my father did. So in 1991, my wife and I started our own business. It was a mobile accounting service with a payroll service bureau. Over the years, we got out of the mobile aspect. Here about 10 years ago, I sold off the accounting to my partner and kept the payroll. And so we're now a payroll company. We provide payroll and payroll-related services in all 50 states to small and medium-sized businesses, and having great fun doing it.
That's outstanding, Charles. Thank you for sharing that story. What you do, I call, is really doing the work of the Lord. You really help. Well, first of all, as a business owner, a successful business owner, I should be saying, you represent millions of small businesses, which constitute the bulk of this economy. Myself, having grown in Ukraine when it was still part of the communist Soviet Union, where everything is government controlled. I mean, American economy is completely the opposite, so the private businesses, and the bulk of them, they're not GMs and GEs type of multi-gazillion dollar conglomerates, but they're small mom and pop, or slightly bigger than mom and pop, but businesses with under 500 employees, which probably you, being a trusted advisor in your line of business, you can attest. And again, the reasons for you not pursuing the career of becoming a CEO or CFO of a multi-billion dollar conglomerate because of political innuendos, which make such a part and parcel of that role. So it gives you a lot of credibility, and it gives you a lot of credit. Definitely aim into that. So again, you launched this payroll with accounting services, your credentials, I mean, they speak for themselves. Not only are you a CPA, but your positions and designations, with the U.S. Tax Court Practitioner, member of the Internal Revenue Service Advisory Council, it really brings so much more value for the small businesses. As a financial advisor who has been doing this for well over 25 years, I am very passionately advocating to my clients to work with a group of great professionals, from financial advisors to legal advisors to tax practitioners, potentially with credentials of your level. And as a team, we truly not just preach, but truly implement a holistic approach where the clients can get the most benefits. So once you launched the company, Charles, what was the evolution? How did it grow? I know you used to be local. Nowadays, you're doing business across the U.S. So let's talk about the evolution of GetPayrol company.
Well, as again, we started as a mobile accounting service locally here in Dallas. Technology changed. The internet blew up. Email, all kinds of things happened. And we found that the mobile, being able to go to the client, was not as important anymore. We were able to contact our clients and move information back and forth electronically. We went on the web in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and started picking up clients around the country. So we've been national for more than 20 years now. We're one of the smaller national payroll firms, but there's only a few of us. Most of them are local. I took my CPA and I learned more about payroll and I studied it. That's why I went and got my U.S. Tax Court Practitioner's license, is because as the IRS got more obstreperous in the early 20s, it became necessary for me to be able to take my clients and represent them in tax court without being an attorney. If you need an attorney to take a tax court case, you're probably looking at a $5,000 retainer.
And that's the minimum. Here in New York, I know it's not uncommon to get, $10, $15, $20,000 retainers, so they can just take your file, take a look at that, and see if they're willing to represent you. But it's only one of many, many, many installments that the clients can expect if they're looking to get representation from any law firm, in the state court, in the U.S. federal court.
Right. And if you have a $3,000 case or a $5,000 case, it makes no sense. So you just pay it to the IRS instead of the attorney.
Which does amount a lot to a lot of small businesses. As we know, you can be generating $1 million in annual revenue, but you're still struggling, from month to month, trying to make it payroll, to pay the rent, the lease, the insurances of all different levels, property casualty, unemployment insurance, and so on and so forth. So $3,000-$5,000 can and will represent a sizable chunk of cash for the bulk of the small businesses.
And in reality, the cost to file a petition with the tax court is $60.
Right.
That's their fee.
Right.
So we can file for our clients
On behalf, yeah.
For $60, we can file a tax court petition. I can gin one up in, a few minutes or an hour and get it filed.
Right.
And 95% of all U.S. tax court cases get settled without going to court. So this gets the client another bite at the apple for $60. You can't beat it. Normally you're going to get at least an offer of 50% or less, or they're going to look at it and realize, yeah, the IRS made a mistake, and they make millions of them, believe me. Fiscal 19, they issued $13 billion in employment tax penalties.
That's billion with B, right, Charles?
Billion with a B.
Make sure we all understand.
And over half of them got abated by people like me that know what they're doing. So they were mistakes. They were wrong. The IRS cannot penalize you for a simple mistake. They'll call it gross negligence and say the penalty is justified, but you can fight it. And if it's a simple mistake, they can't penalize you. That's not legal. That's against the law for them to do that. So there's a lot of things we can do for our clients, and we've studied the law. We've gotten the credentials to be able to do so, because the IRS is, this overwhelming institution. And if you can't fight it, you need somebody that can. But small business can't afford a $15,000 retainer for a tax attorney. They don't have the money to do that. For a $5,000 mistake or a $3,000 mistake at the IRS, we can file a $60 if I haven't fixed it through appeals. And, I'll deal with the whole series of appeals. And when we fight an IRS mistake for a client, that's part of our service. That's not extra fees. That's part of the service. The $60 I charge them for the petition, okay?
That's the cost of filing
That's the cost of filing,
stated,
right.
But
that's money out of pocket.
Representing the client with a probability of 50% win, as you stated, hey, out of, whatever billions, half of them, they get settled out of court, because the government, while they do make all those mistakes, they're smart enough to understand the value and the savings of going for a settlement out of court. They're still generating billions and billions of dollars in revenues, but at the same time, they don't have to waste, countless number of hours, of human hours and the courts to go through the whole process. So the value is incredible, and you nailed it when you said, hey, it is part of our service that we're providing to the clients. And again, as a financial advisor, a lot of my clients are small businesses. They're absolutely unaware of those kind of extremely helpful and beneficial packages, if you will, from professionals like yourself and your firm. And that's one of the, again, reasons to stay out there and educate the people. And one of many reasons behind the 4 books that you put together and you got published. One of them, the latest one, is out just recently. If you would like to share with our audience, the Payroll book.
Payroll book, a guide for small business and startups. It's exactly what it is. It's designed for the under 50 firm. And as you were talking earlier, 95% of American business is less than 50 employees. Okay.
Mom and pops, immediate, not immediate family members, a few friends and neighbors, if you will. But yeah, it's absolutely beyond me how this kind of stuff is not being taught in schools, especially in the business schools. You're looking at the credits after, $250,000. That's an average ticket for a fancy school in the U.S. nowadays, private school. They're absolutely clueless about the basics which are out there, which have been not only taught, but implemented by the professional like yourself. And this book specifically that you just showed to our audience, Charles, it should be made a mandatory reading, a mandatory class. Definitely in the business schools, definitely in those people who are majoring in any kind of finance, let alone, going for their MBAs. But more importantly, for every business owner. Not every business owner has been lucky to go to fancy school or any college to begin with. But understanding the value of those services, they need to self-educate themselves, and you really offer them helpful hand and share that expertise without actually retaining you, as a professional on their payroll. Yep.
For 5 years before my wife had her stroke, I taught at the local high school. I taught first period every day. I went and taught introduction to business to high school students, to explain to them how business really worked. And it was real world experience. I bring in real world people, real world examples, and disabuse them of all the liberal claptrap that the other teachers were inundating them with.
Thank you for that. That alone is worth making it a mandatory class, Charles.
And so it was a lot of fun to teach these kids about business in America and how it really worked, and disabuse them of all the nonsense that they were being inundated with. It was a pleasure to do so. I did it first period every day and then came to work.
Now, this is great. It should give you not only a professional gratification, being happy with yourself as a great professional that you are, but also as a great citizen, because most of the common sense people, regardless of who they voted in the past, they need to understand the value of the free economy. And again, somebody who grew up in the communist Soviet Union, though it was Ukraine, but it was still part of the communist country, where no private businesses were allowed to begin with, where the government really controls every sneeze you make, every step of the way through your life. That's the only way they can control the population and keep staying in power. So somebody like yourself who is teaching the benefits of free economy and how to start and operate the business, and more importantly, make the business successful. Everybody heard that proverbial, a penny saved is a penny earned. You and I, we both can agree on the fact that it came about before federal, state, and local taxes were implemented. So a lot of times a penny saved equates to two pennies earned. And we've been very fortunate in the past 4 years where we've seen dramatic cuts across the corporate tax board. And very unfortunately and very alarmingly, we're seeing the current administration, which is revoking all the benefits, tax benefits to corporate America. We have seen results, out there. I mean, it's incredible. The lowest unemployment in years across the board, minorities, Asians, African-American communities, female population of the U.S., trillions of dollars repatriated to the U.S. because of the sheer fact that the corporate tax rate was cut in half. And now they're looking to double it. And the lame excuse I'm seeing and hearing, just like everybody who cares to listen to those facts, the lame excuse is, hey, the current administration is keeping in touch with, the Western European economies and politicians, trying to make sure that they are going to be in sync with our tax hikes, which is going to really drive the businesses out of business. And, you can tax the people and the companies only so much. When the company is out of business, there is no jobs created. You can introduce all the mandates you want. But as Margaret Thatcher, said once and repeated multiple times, you always run out of somebody else's money. So you can try to tax the businesses, but when there is no businesses left over, then again, nobody benefits. The population is going to be on the government benefits. And again, it's the spiral way down. It's definite.
Absolutely. And this is an old tale. We all learned it as children. It's called killing the golden goose.
Yeah.
The goose that laid the golden eggs. You kill the goose to open it up to find out where it's coming from, and there's nothing left and no golden eggs. And you're bereft of that wealth creation. And as they kill American business and tax it and mandate it to death, they're going to kill the golden goose.
It's so true. It's a documented fact. One of them is the minimum wage, obviously, federal wage at $15. Look, I mean, the businesses, they're going to shut down, or they're going to move out, out of state.
Or they're going to create machines and not hire teenagers and not hire immigrants and not hire uneducated people and give them a way to make a living.
Right.
It's going to go to sophisticated computerized machines to flip the hamburgers, and kids won't have any way to learn how to work in a business. I mean, McDonald's is not designed to be a career. It's designed to take teenagers and give them their first job and teach them work ethic and teach them, show up, wash, clean, smile, be good to customers. It's designed to teach these people these things. It's not designed to make them a living.
The introduction, it is the introduction to the corporate world. And if they choose to stay at McDonald's, which is, again, great multi-gazillion dollar global conglomerate, the U.S., one of the probably most successful U.S. inventions, then God bless. But a lot of them, they really use it as a stepping board, as an entrance into the corporate world, and they can pursue multitude of different careers. And you, in your capacity, as a CEO and the founder of your company, you can attest to that, to that effect. Well, would love to talk about the topic of the percentage of federal revenue that's being generated from the payroll. So again, we're speaking with the CEO of GetPayrol. So a huge percentage of those taxes, they come from the payroll. So I would love you to speak about the numbers, because when I have done some research, when I delved into your publications, I was just, my mind was just blown away. Is it possible you're looking at billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars? So I would love you, Charles.
Actually, you're looking at trillions. More than 70% of all federal revenue flows through payroll.
It's incredible.
70%. Taxes, withholding taxes, income taxes, employment taxes, FICA, Medicare, all that, all the Medicare money, all the Social Security money, all flows through payroll. Okay, plus all the income tax deductions. More than 70% of U.S. revenue flows through the payroll industry. So every time Congress wants to adjust where they get revenue from, they're adjusting payroll. It's a constantly changing field. It's never stationary. It's always a moving target, which we deal with every day, and we take the trades. And I get 5 newsletters a week from the Internal Revenue Service for different areas. Okay. And small business, you don't stand a chance in hell of keeping up with it, guys, gals. It's hard enough for us to, okay? And we do it for a living. I would not want to be a small businessman trying to do my own payroll anymore. I never did. I always, before I started this business, whenever I was in business, we always outsourced payroll because it made no sense. And with all the rules and all the regulations and all the laws that affect that, it's just incredible. And they changed the last couple of years. Well, the last 12 years have been really, starting with President Obama and the Democratic Congress. And then Trump changed a lot of things, reversed a lot of things. Biden's re-reversing things and changing things. It's quicksand out there, guys.
Very, very alarming developments. But I mean, the fact that it's a very dynamic process, speaks volumes about the fact that the people do need to work not only with a payroll provider, not only with a CPA, but an expert probably of your level, where you and your team, who are abreast with all the government regulations, which are changing almost on a daily basis. You referenced, 5 newsletters, just over the last week. I mean, the business owner that operates, say some kind of restaurant or retail, small retail company somewhere in the middle of the U.S. stands really 0 chances, as far as I'm concerned, to be abreast, and that can amount to some hefty and sizable penalties. You have been instrumental, Charles, as I know, again, from yourself personally and from your publications, in getting rid of some of those heavy fines, assessed on the businesses. So again, I would like you to speak also about the benefits of retaining somebody like yourself, who is not just a CPA, who is not just an ADP, provider of payroll, but really is bringing the whole ball of wax, so to speak, multiple services to address those kind of issues for the clients.
Well, as a CPA, and most of my competitors in the payroll business aren't CPAs and don't have CPAs available to clients.
Right.
So first of all, a client can call me and I can give them professional advice. I'm not some clerk processing payroll. I'm a payroll expert. I lecture on this. I write on it. I study it. I have the credentials for it. This is what I do for a living. But beyond that, we take a Form 2848, limited power of attorney, from all of our clients. And that allows me to advocate with the Internal Revenue Service for my client. So when there's a mistake or a problem, I can talk to the IRS, and I'm a professional. And in many cases, I know more than the agent I'm talking to, because I've studied this for 30 years. He may have moved into that department last month. Okay.
Last week, how about that?
Last week or this morning. So
no, honest to God, one day, one of my small business clients had some issues. So we got on the phone right in my office. I put on a speakerphone, we called the payroll company and we spoke with a lady and she goes, you know what, let me get one of my senior colleagues. I literally just got in the business like last week, 10 days back. So it's important to know the credentials, not only the credentials, but the length, of service, the experience that provider can offer, can bring to the table as part of, the overall value proposition.
Absolutely. I learn more things every day. As I said, I get 5 newsletters a week from the IRS. I study it. I was on the advisory council. I was in DC 5 times a year. I met with the commissioner and the commissioners of the various business divisions and know people and met with, the appeals people, chief of appeals, deputy chief of appeals. The new head of OPR is a friend of mine. We were on IRSAC together. There's lots of things I can do. One of the stories I tell is we had a penalty for a client. It took 9 years to solve. The IRS wanted $95,000. I took it and I went through the various steps of appeals, got up to the director of field operations. He wouldn't return my calls. So I called the deputy chief of appeals and I said, Cindy, this guy who works for you won't call me back. She said, I'll have him call you. He called me that afternoon after a year of trying to get a hold of him. We put it with a new appeals officer in a different division. And 3 months later, my client got a $300 refund instead of a $95,000 penalty. But it took 9 years to solve it. My client never would have been able to solve it. I was able to solve it because of my knowledge and my connections. And this is the kind of thing you build after 30 years in the business.
I can't use any better example as a testimony to the fact that, hey, you are a trusted advisor. Again, everybody can, claim that title, but it's really proving, that this is what you have done for the client. And it's not, as you said, just, hey, you have a $95,000 bill from IRS. Let's pick up the phone. Let's file that petition. Boom, resolved. It took 9 years. You had to go through all the levels, all the motions, and finally, again, it is only through your personal connection, as you stated, that you've been able to actually, have somebody in charge of that case get in touch with you and resolve the issue to not only full satisfaction, but actually the client ended up getting some funds back. But $95,000, look, only the people who never operated a small business or the people who never advised small businesses, like the people like you and I, they can think it's not a lot of money. We know, again, you can be generating $1 million in annual revenue, but your net income can be zero or negative year in and year out. And you're hoping and you're praying that some miracle will happen and you'll get that break one day, 1 week, 1 month, which will allow you to hopefully, develop your business and grow and pay off the whatever, payroll bills, whatever else you have to deal with. But again, the people like yourself, they definitely bring incredible value. And I strongly believe in the term holistic advisor, where everybody, again, can put that claim to fame, but it is really what you do, what you have done, what you're planning to do for the clients. And again, as a true advisor who surrounded yourself with a network of great professionals through networking at different levels, chambers of commerce and other institutions, you establish those kind of levels of contacts that allow you to utilize all the expertise combined, to help your clients at the end of the day. So that's truly remarkable. I do hope that this kind of client becomes not only the client for life, but he or she should become your biggest proponent, your biggest advocate, just like you have been advocating on behalf of that business, right?
One of my favorite stories in that vein is Carol, and her and her husband ran several local restaurants, very well-known restaurant entrepreneur in the area. And I was talking to Carol one day about getting a reference to use in some advertising. She told me to write whatever I wanted, and she put her name on it. But she said to me, Charles, I get people that call me every week wanting to do my payroll.
Yeah.
And I tell them no. And they say, well, we can do it cheaper. And I say, and Carol would say, I don't care if you can do it for free.
Yep.
I'm not leaving Charles, because we provide more than just paychecks. We provide holistic advice. They got into problems with the IRS from an ex-employee that was accusing them of fraud. And we spent 2 years with the IRS working things out and providing data and history and everything else. These are the kind of things we do for our clients that if you're dealing with a call center at ADP or Paychecks, you're not going to get. We clients become friends. We have clients that have been with us 30 years. They're friends. I'm in their wallet or their purse every 2 weeks. For 30 years. If you're not friends, it doesn't work. So, I love my clients and they love us, and I got a great staff who takes care of them. But if there's a problem, they can ask for Charles, and I pick up the phone. You pick up the phone with ADP and you ask for the president of ADP, you'll never get him. I promise you, I've tried.
I can attest to that sincerely. I've seen multiple times when the clients, again, would have some family members, some close friends working for, again, ADP or Paychecks, and they have the same kind of complaint. Hey, you're calling the 800 number if you're lucky, to get somebody on the line. And if you do when you get somebody on the line, then they're going to bounce you between probably half dozen people. And the issue probably in most cases will not get resolved right then and there. They're going to say, we're going to get back to you. We're going to send to you some correspondence, to the fact, because we need to run it by our management. We need to run it by our compliance, and the whole thing that probably could have been resolved in your case, with your clients, where they can get you or your close associate who is authorized to deliver that kind of advice, right then and there.
And I can pick up the phone and call the IRS for them.
Right. Which is something that you're not going to get through ADP or Paychecks or any of the major providers in the same spot.
You've got to be a CPA, an attorney, or an EA to take a 2848 power of attorney. If you're not that, you can't take one. Okay. So my competitors don't have people who can take that and advocate for their clients. You can get a letter. There's a name and a number on there for an IRS agent. I can pick up the phone and call him and determine exactly what's going on and maybe solve the problem right then and there, or with a fax or with a letter, and it's done and it's over. These are the kinds of things we can do that our competitors don't. We're compliance experts. We fix these things. I mean, most payroll companies do a reasonably good job of kicking out checks or direct deposits. I'm not going to argue that they don't.
But this is only one of many components of the whole value proposition that you have been so successfully bringing to your clients. And then again, that's why you've been so successfully running and growing your company, not only over years, but decades pretty much. And the fact that you referenced, attorneys that can represent you in a court, again, never mind the fact that $15,000, $25,000 retainer is just, the first step to get that kind of legal representation. But you basically, at your level, you deliver the same kind of services, acting as a true fiduciary, which is a huge buzzword. I can attest that as a financial advisor, 25 years back, I was still a rookie in the industry, where a lot of people were kind of like laughing and smiling as a minimum. Hey, why would you need that license to offer, flat fee or wrap accounts where you act as a fiduciary? So the client is not concerned about the number of financial transactions inside his or her accounts. All they care about is the performance of their portfolio. I get paid a flat fee regardless, of how many stocks are being bought or sold or what have you. So again, being a fiduciary is a huge thing. And I'm a strong proponent of educating people about the differences, in professionals. You can just get somebody from ADP, for example, or Paychecks to get the basic payroll, services, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Or for the same price, you can get a team, like yours, Charles, who is going to be taking care pretty much from A to Z, really acting not only as a payroll provider, but really as a business advisor. Because again, without the help that you are mentioning, no business, I don't think that any business can survive, let alone, prosper and grow.
I agree. And we do things beyond just the payroll. we work with workers' comp and HR and timekeeping and other associated products, and we provide professional advice. Is this person you hire an independent contractor or really an employee? Do you have statutory employees, non-statutory employees? How about your child you're going to hire? How do you pay him? What taxes are they subject to? All kinds of things come up. Oh, my employee said I've got to pay him for breaks. Well, no, you don't. Okay, I don't care what he says, and on and on and on. So we are advisors to our clients. We talk to them all the time. We solve problems for them. We give them advice. We tell them the law and give them advice because, sometimes the law is ambiguous, and we tell them, yeah, it says this, but in reality, this is what happens. So
tax codes, the IRS tax codes, they are overwhelming. This is a major understatement. From what I recall, was it about 20 years back, Charles? Again, you need to put me up to speed on that. Was it about 20 years back that they implemented a new resolution trying to make IRS more consumer friendly?
Kindler and gentler was the term. Yes.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that. What's your experience?
That was a joke. They touted it publicly for a couple of years and then dropped it and became more rapacious than ever. So there is no kindler and gentler IRS. Chuck Reddick's the new commissioner. He's an outsider. He's not a IRS lifetime employee. He was a tax attorney out of San Diego. Nice guy.
Brought him from outside, yeah.
Yeah, brought him in from outside. He's brought in some other people, changed things around and so on. He's very much more interested in serving, taking care of the underserved population. His wife is Vietnamese, so he's very concerned with immigrants and making sure that they understand and have access to this, expanded the number of languages available and usage and so on and so forth.
I always, speak about the languages. I'm telling you, God bless America, but it's beyond me to see the waste of countless and countless and countless of hours that anything you call the IRS, any government institution you call MasterCard, American Express, you literally waste countless hours, compounded over time where you're trying to get any services and then telling, press this for this language, press that for that. To me, it's just incredible. If the people come to this country, they need to master at least some basics of the language. And if they can't, they should not be allowed to be getting their green cards, let alone the U.S. citizenship.
Well, they're supposed to, but
speak about the waste of human resources and speak about the waste of taxpayers' dollars, which amount probably to countless millions, if not billions, over time. People don't realize it's not just putting the automated voicemail saying push this, push that, but it's utilizing expertise of translators. Printing alone of all the forms, and can you imagine in Vietnamese? I'm having a hard time to say, how many Vietnamese or whatever other speakers we may have. But again, it's just incredibly wasteful as far as I'm concerned.
I don't disagree, but it's I don't make the policy. I just have to live with it.
yeah, but it's pretty incredible. So anyway, have you seen any dramatic changes as far as really being more pro-consumer, more friendly as far as the IRS is concerned and the way they deal with the audience, the customers, the taxpayers?
No, and hell no.
Ramifications of non-compliance with IRS regulations can be devastating.
Absolutely.
I really would like you to point out one, maybe two cases that you personally had been involved in, seeing how it works out against the business owners. Again, we're speaking about the honest folks out there. If somebody is trying to cheat the system, those people, they need to be locked up as far as concerned, hopefully for a long time. I mean, if somebody made an honest mistake, an error,
friend of mine,
they get caught in this litigation with IRS. So I mean, I would like you to speak about your personal cases.
I'll give you a couple. A friend of mine was a heavy equipment broker. And so he buys equipment and sells it, or he gets paid for equipment and gets it and then delivers it. Yeah. Well, one December, he had an extra $100,000 in his account that he'd been paid for equipment that he hadn't had to pay for yet. So he moved it to his personal money market account to draw some interest off of it.
Common sense, I would say.
And then about late January, he moved it back to the business to pay for the equipment.
And they were trying to tax that amount probably as an income.
They said it was income to him personally. And he hired an attorney, and the attorney ran into the examiner and just got nowhere. So he called me, and I said, Bill, okay, let me look into it. I called the examiner. The examiner was an ass. So I said, let me talk to your boss. And his boss was no better. So I did the series of letters and got it to the appeals officer and went over here in Richardson and met with the IRS appeals. And he looked at it and he said, bullshit. No, that's not taxable income.
Right.
And that the whole meeting took 5 minutes. Yep. Okay. But I had to get to that point to be able to do it. The attorney that he hired had charged him $3,000 for a letter, okay, that did nothing. It was 3 pages. It was really a fancy letter.
Waste of time and money, yeah.
Waste of time and money. I solved it, and he was a friend of mine, so I didn't charge him, because I sent 3 letters and drove her to Richardson. Big deal. So then I had another one come in. It was we'd taken over their payroll, and they'd been with ADP, and ADP wrongly issued a W-2 for the year he came over. We issued him the correct one with his last payroll in it.
Right.
ADP issued one without the last payroll. And then, of course, 2 years later, 3 years later, the IRS comes and says, we have all this unreported income on your 1040. You need to pay us. And ADP's policy was, well, after a year, we don't fix anything. So I called the IRS and they stonewalled me. So we filed a petition with the tax court. It got kicked back to docketed appeals. The 6 weeks after I filed it, the district council called me and said, Charles, we've looked at this. We fixed it. It's over. It's done. It's all it took. $60.
Incredible success stories. You're talking about the amounts which are not only sizable, they're staggering, like $100,000, and you really take care of that almost instantaneously at a tiny fraction of the legal cost that was supposed to be, charged by the attorney. And an incredible success story. So when I said you're doing the work of the Lord, I mean, that's so true. Look, I mean, you're keeping the businesses going. You save the businesses, you protect them, you keep them staying in business, providing workplaces for Americans who would love to work and earn the paychecks as opposed to relying on the government benefits. So again, incredible, and I salute you and I thank you for what you have been doing. We are running out of time, Charles. I hope that our audience will be getting your book, hopefully not just the latest book, but other books. But I would like you to just, make some closing statement about the things that you uncover in those books, the benefits of getting them, reading them, and utilize them probably as the day-to-day, week-to-week manual of operating the business more successfully than otherwise.
Well, it's the payroll book. Now, for your listeners, if they go to the payrollbook.com, which is the website, and enter the discount code podcast, we will ship them a book for free.
Wow.
No shipping, handling, just a free book for your listeners. Okay.
This is outstanding. And to our esteemed audience, that's yet another way of us saying huge thank you for you folks for tuning in and listening to this channel and putting your likes, smashing that like button, and hopefully posting and reposting it on LinkedIn or other social media channels that you've been utilizing. This is how we can keep spreading the word and keep delivering more value to the people who are in need of that value. We're going to put the link in the description area of this channel, and some remaining pearls of wisdom. Charles, again, you're so great. I'm telling you, we uncovered so many extremely helpful benefits that you've been speaking, you've been advocating, you've been implementing with your business clients. I do hope we're going to see you back sometime in the near future, but some closing thoughts, please, before we wrap it up today.
Well, the book is designed to take 30 years of my experience and convert it to 95,000 words. It's not something you want to read unless you have insomnia, but it's something you want to reference. And for small businesses and for startups, there's a lot of good stuff in there that really is meaningful. If you've got questions, look it up. If it's not in the book, call me. Or send me an email.
We're gonna post your contact info. You're also on LinkedIn, Charles, right?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and so on. So you can find me on LinkedIn under GetPayrol. It's right here behind me at getpayroll.com. So we really there's nothing like that in the out there. That's why we wrote the book, to really give a guide to small businesses that want to try to do it on their own, or that need advice or need help. The nearest thing to that $600 from the American Payroll Association. That's a little much to pay for a reference book for a small business or a startup. So this is designed to help small businesses and startups stay legal, stay out of trouble, keep the IRS out of their hair. I don't have that problem anymore, but
it's a fashion look, Charles. That's what a lot of people are going for, this fashion look now. But look, I mean, I like saying, getting a professional advice is invaluable. Getting a professional advice of somebody of your level of expertise, experience for free, 30 years, 30 years of your business jam-packed into that wonderful publication, that great book. So again, we're going to post the links to get in touch with you, to get hold of that wonderful book. And Charles, again, I do thank you so much for coming to join us. I know your schedule is super busy, so I'm going to let you go back to what you're doing the best, which is really helping your clients and keeping the economies going. And we do hope to see you at some point back as a repeat guest. And to our wonderful audiences, hopefully you enjoyed this interview with Charles Reed as much as I did. Stay tuned. We're going to be back probably in a few days. Otherwise, stay well, stay strong, stay positive. Better days are yet to come. Charles, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Gene.